It's been this way for years. A cold wind rushes quickly across the barren landscape, disappearing as quickly as it came. I have watched 3 sunrises and 2 sunsets, so I'm assuming this is the first half of my 3rd day here. This place is called the Strip. I don't know why it's called the Strip, but I know because it's the first thing I remember. Waking up in soil with a texture reminiscent of charcoal and clay, looking up to see a sign on a hill held up by 2 dusty metal pieces. One bent a bit from some sort of force, causing a large green metal plate to sit crooked in midair with the words, "Welcome to the Strip," sloppily painted in thick white over what once was a perfectly good sign. I could still make out a few letters. Elcom O Exico? What the hell? I stammered, coughing a bit as I spoke, as breathing air sent the pain of stinging nettle through my throat. The Strip. Where am I? I see nothing but brownish-black dirt and gnarled death-like foliage for miles in every direction. My eyes wander in front of me, and I see a rock? No, something's off. It's like the shape and size is too purposeful, too perfect. I walk to the rock and give it a good kick, watching a brownish-black cover fly off into the distance, revealing a small metal dome-like device sticking out of the ground. Attached to it was a small black cord that was just barely noticeable. I don't know why I followed it the way I did, but in that moment, maybe on a subconscious level, I knew what I would find. At the time, I simply had this feeling that I needed to see what was on the other side. I wasn't wrong. When I got to the other side of the cord, it led to another dome-like power terminal attached to a bigger rock. I immediately noticed the outline of a false panel in the side of the rock, and gingerly pressed it down with the tips of my fingers, watching it pop out slightly and fall to the ground. I now was hunched over in front of a digital panel with a full 26-letter keyboard and a 12 by 12-inch monitor. In blocky green text sat the word Milnet. Milnet. This is a computer. I spoke to myself as if I was reminding children that I had of a fact they needed to know. Except at the time, I didn't think I had children. Anyways, the screen flashed to life as I hit enter. A window appeared with a search bar and a multi-branching index which I didn't know how to navigate. I wanted to know what to do, but I didn't need to ask. My hands danced across the keyboard, performing the steps to the ballet for me. Rainer Mason. A name. I knew that much for certain. I hit enter again. Green bars crept across the screen like stepping stones, taking me to a new window, with the picture of a clean-shaven man in the top right corner.
Name, Rainer Mason. Date of birth, 12/22/98. Occupation, mathematician, MIT. Connections, wife, deceased. Eldest daughter, unknown. Youngest daughter, middle son, detained. Subject is under surveillance. Mathematical equation. Encryption, algorithmic methods. Subject, captured, detained. Relocation, termination, or classification.
At first, I felt numb. Then it sunk in, and when I say sunk, I mean the way that a bullet sinks into water, as it's fired from a high-powered rifle. At first, I flew from the barrel. My name is Mason Terrell Rainer. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, to Derek and Samantha Rainer. I am 29 years old. My wife's name is Olivia, and her favorite color is green. My children in order of age are Olivia, Jacob, and Katiana Rayner. Each of their eyes is my wife's favorite color. And then the bullet hit the water, and the surface tension shattered it. Why is my wife dead? What the fuck did they do to Katiana? Where is Jacob? Is he okay? Every question impounded on the last, and soon I saw the world spinning before me. I stopped in my tracks. A cord led off the terminal, away from the sign. I couldn't think of any better idea, so I followed it. I had to have walked for at least 30 minutes along the stone, hard-charred landscape of the strip. Coming to the end, I found the cord simply stopped in another dome-like terminal, this time connected to the ground. The surrounding area was featureless, flat, and plain. Nothing could be found out of the ordinary. That's when I heard the sound of busy in the distance. After another hour and a half of walking, 30 minutes of which involved traversing treacherous landscape and avoiding poisonous, slithering creatures, I made it to the outskirts of what seemed to be a large shanty town. The title Northern Outpost came up many times in the conversations I overheard, and I came to find that that was the name of the place later on. Ragged-looking people of all sorts of sizes, shapes, and images scurried around this place. The only thing we all shared was that we were all dirty and grimy. I bet we looked like rats from the sky above. Such descriptor wouldn't be far off from our behavior. People stole from each other in both stealth and broad day. Violence and muggings, both fair and unfair, just and unjust, occurred sporadically. The disturbing, occasional sounds of rape could be heard in the distance amongst the seas of untamed pleasure. This is the primal fallout of civilization, a veritable anarchist society. I walked through the town only briefly before a new wave of screaming began.
This is not a drill. Disperse. You will disperse or be neutralized.
A megaphonic voice called with a dogmatic ferocity, its tone echoing off the dusty, cracked shells of buildings that once were a thriving city. The metal rumbling of treads only got louder. Swaths of people rushed out of the middle of the street, up against the walls of buildings, into the safe embrace of alleyways in the shadows. The space was quickly filled by a group of 3 grayish-black masses surrounded in clouds of dust. I couldn't make them out at first. They seemed so foreign at the time. Wrong. Like they were something some omnipotent being did not intend on keeping here, that endured despite its disapproval. They carried men in gray-plated military suits, with deep blue clothes underlying the armor. These men walked with boots that were thick. Their gloves, adorned with spiteful studs on the knuckles, spoke most of what you needed to know. We are armed. We are dangerous. We are demanding. They were called the Guard. I heard the name before, but never believed that any sort of authority could exist in such a place like this. These black masses were the riot buggies. Massive, heavily plated vehicles with thick, studded treads. As the massive riot buggies came to an immediate stop in front of us, time seemed to freeze. While the dust settled, the town was, at least in those moments, silent. As the last of the blackish-brown clouds settled, a single guardsman stepped from the vehicle. Rifle in hand, he slung the bulky black device over his shoulder and, once in range, threw a single punch into my gut that sent me into the cracked dirt with stars in my eyes. The thick, barking voice of the guard could be heard by everyone nearby. "Mason Rayner, your presence is needed," was the last thing I heard before the wild, animalistic cackling of the nearby populace decrescendoed me into a sea of black silence.